Hello YouTube, my name is Derek, and this is sort of my introduction video to the vinyl community here on YouTube. So I met a lot of cool guys on YouTube and looked through their vinyl collections, and so I thought, maybe I could meet some new people here, interact with some people, and just share my thoughts, of what I collect. It looks original, but it isn't, I promise. ABC Probe label. I love the heavy psych records on the ABC labels, like Maximilian, Eden's Children. I love that stuff. I need to get those records yet. I would love to have those.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Derek here. His name's Derek? I thought it was PsycheDerek's all along. Yeah, that's my real name, in case you didn't know. PsycheDerek, psychedelic. Catching on? Anyways, I'm being silly. Welcome aboard. If the lighting looks funky, or with all this like reflection going on, it's about sundown, so it's a Wednesday evening. I don't know if I'm going to upload this tomorrow or the weekend. I'm thinking the weekend though, but I'm recording it now and the sun's kind of starting to set a little bit, and this is going to be a long one, hopefully. I think it is. So sit back, get ready for a long one, because we're here to somewhat celebrate my 10-year span on the YouTube platform, making videos at least. I made this account I think 16, 17 years ago now, which is kind of crazy. Back in like late 2007, and I started making videos shortly after, about 2008, and they were vinyl related. I was posting like several videos on my mom's shitty camcorder. Had really terrible sound, but had to crank up the stereo to get that good sound. And I would just, back when YouTube wasn't so restricted on your copyright strikes, I would just upload several videos of me spinning stuff on my turntable, getting these kind of, cinematic shots, and it was fun. I had a lot of fun. Of course, that was back when almost nearly coming out of the dial-up age. We still had pretty slow internet though back then, and had to hook up the camcorder to the desktop computer. Not a fun time doing that, but come a long way since then. But yeah, this video's, I'm kind of rambling here, but this video is going to be kind of all over the map, because that's usually how it is with me. Start rambling, don't really have a script, don't really go off of anything, just kind of freeball it. But yeah, 10 years, man. So I started, I think it was like a week, or it was like a year and a week ago now, is when I started doing these, sort of the vinyl community videos. So it would have been June 10th, I think, of 2014 was my introductory video. And yeah, what can I say? I was pretty nervous at first making my appearance, and really the social anxiety portion of it has not really gone away too much, even though I think I do pretty well being on camera. There's just always something very stark about it. You're talking in an empty room, and people are going to listen eventually, but you're just talking to your patio, You're talking to your phone on a box, or at least I am right now. But back in the early days, man, so I'll kind of go through a little bit of a history and a little bit how I was brought up in music and how I got vinyl in my life. If you guys didn't know my journey, it'll be kind of a distorted timeline, but we'll get through it, I think. So starting back, should I start with childhood? I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, to summarize it, I found my mom's record collection under my bed, and why it was there, to this day, my mom and I, we don't know why they were there. I guess it was just kind of a simple way to shove them underneath my bed somewhere to kind of store them, and they were all scattered. Maybe they were in my closet, because some of my mom's stuff was in my room closet, and maybe I had spread them out as a kid. I don't remember. But I just remember they were all sprawled out underneath my bed. And I would look at these discs, I got one right here to show you later on, but just for example, I was like, what is this big disc? What's it all about? You know, does it play music? And then I'd kind of like put my fingernail on it. I'd be like, ooh, it's making sound. And I still remember which record I broke in half. It was Bob Seger and Silver Bullet Band, 9 Tonight. I'm so sorry. It's irreplaceable. No, but I was just a kid, you know. But my mom, you know, she was kind of brought up on, you know, the late 70s, early 80s. So it was a lot of like disco era, Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, a lot of K-Tel compilations. You know, Barry Manilow. For some reason, she was into him. Some Slade and Meatloaf, of course, John Cougar Mellencamp. A lot of Heartland rock, Midwestern rock, kind of your typical stuff. But as a child, though, I mean, having no context of like what this music's about or anything, I just dug what I heard while I was spinning these records. It was kind of like a ceremonial thing, and to this day, it still feels that way. It's just kind of a comfort thing for me. And of course, I destroyed many records, and the way I'd find turntables, you know, I kind of got out of it as a kid. I was heavily into movies and films at the time, throughout my childhood, all the way up to like age 10. Then about, I want to say my preteen years, 11, 12 years old, started collecting like different turntables from garage sales. And I had like a whole stack of like turntables that some didn't work, and that's why they're at garage sales. Some were missing needles, but I eventually found I think it was a sound design cabinet, and that turntable sucked ass. It really sucked. But of course, I mean, looking back, as a kid, you don't think about these things, but you just play what you get. And yeah, that needle was pretty shit, but it did the job, you know. So looking back though, it lasted me for a while, and then my music change kind of started to grow a little bit. I started kind of cornering in what I kind of liked. You know, I was brought up on some like disco records, but of course I listened to a lot of typical classic rock at the time. You know, my dad and I, we'd drive around listening to cassette tapes, and I still remember the 3 cassette tapes we wore out. It was the Bob Seger Greatest Hits, the one with him on the railroad tracks, Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell, and John Cougar Mellencamp's album. I know, they were big. Those 3 artists were somehow part of my childhood, and of course, you know, look where I've came at this point, you know. I obviously don't listen to those artists unless it's like their psychedelic era stuff. When I listen to those sounds, you know, they're certainly nostalgic, but not for the enjoyable reasons. It's just kind of like a more comfort thing listening to them now, I guess, when they come on the radio or something. But yeah, I was really brought up on classic rock. And then eventually, you know, 80s film soundtracks were a thing. I was into like the Footloose soundtrack, Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, Top Gun soundtrack. I don't know why. I just started exploring in that area, and looking back on that, those songs are a little more nostalgic for me listening to them now. It's kind of guilty pleasures. They are. Just for fun, you know. But, and this was around the time they were still selling cassette tapes. This would have been, you know, early 2000s, around there. I was finding these cassette tapes. Because in the Midwest, you know, especially those discount stores way out west in Nebraska, everything doesn't change quickly as it does like on both west and east coasts, obviously. But of course I got into, you know, compact discs eventually. Had my first CD player when I was like in 2nd grade. Had a lot of like rock compilations and stuff like that. And then of course, the first band that really I had to check everything in that discography out was Black Sabbath. I found their cassette tape of Heaven and Hell in my local thrift store. Blew my mind at the time. Had never heard anything like that. And then I eventually found Paranoid on CD, and I thought, wow, this is the best record I've ever heard in my life. The whole world needs to hear this. I was kind of feeling deep inside. I was like, because, you know, my friends, a lot of kids my age at the time weren't really into that sort of music, you know, it was all the modern stuff. So I very much felt like an outsider in my small rural town. And to this day, I mean, Paranoid was a life-changing record for me in a lot of ways. And and then having to realize later on it was actually Ozzy Osbourne singing. I was like, what? Because I had like a cheap knockoff of Paranoid. It wasn't even the Warner Brother CD. It was like some cheap bootleg. And it had Rat Salad being the last track on the album. Why? Don't ask me why. But so Black Sabbath was a big, important piece of my childhood. Like, I think I discovered them at like 11 years old. And then soon after, I mean, the timeline as a child moves pretty quickly, or moves pretty slowly, I should say. So I'm absorbing a lot of things, and eventually Pink Floyd comes into the picture. I heard a lot of great stuff about Dark Side of the Moon, so I buy the CD. And I still remember the first time I heard that. I was riding in the back seat of my parents' car. We were driving out of town. It was dark. It was like probably 9 at night or something. And it's the first time I ever heard an album continuously move. Like, I heard the tracks blend into each other. I was like, whoa. Messed with my mind for a moment. So eventually I got on Pink Floyd kick, and ever since then, I've always kind of loosely said, they're my favorite band, but I really do mean that in a pretty sincere way. They really were one of the first groups I went all out on, and still admire greatly to this day, as well as Sabbath, of course. But yeah, it was those two bands, man, before the record collecting thing came along. So, and of course Alice Cooper at the time too. And I got to show one record here, and this is one that was really responsible for me diving deeper into psychedelia, because I was really big into Alice Cooper, his the band Alice Cooper, School's Out, Killer, Love It to Death, had all of them on CD because I'd found them locally. I mean, we're talking small town Nebraska where, you pick up anything you can at these discount stores. And somehow I found the Madcap Laughs there on CD. I picked that up before I even heard Piper at the Gates of Dawn. And eventually I'd find a few Pink Floyd records. I found Animals, Wish You Were Here. But anyways, go back on Alice Cooper kick. I knew about this record because I looked it up online, said psychedelic, and of course, psych records for me kind of came pretty soon after. I want to say like 13, 14 years old. I knew of Iron Butterfly, and the first big collection I ever bought was at this auction in person. We had one at the county fire hall, and I purchased the whole thing for 20 bucks out of my own pocket. And it was a lot of records. It was a lot of classic rock titles, had everything from Kiss to Led Zeppelin, Sabbath, Jimi Hendrix, and I still have a few of those records actually. And so I'd have been like in 7th grade around there, and found a lot of cool stuff, a lot of diversity in there too. And so I found Iron Butterfly in there, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of latching on to this style, sort of this raw fuzz guitar. It's kind of like really thick fuzz, but yet it's kind of this early distorted sound. I was like, I need to find more of this. And so eventually around that same time, I want to say freshman year, I went to a local shop in Columbus, Nebraska. It's no longer there, called Bogey's Music. And they had a lot of like used vinyl, some new titles in there as well, new CDs and stuff like that. And they had a brand new CD of this one and Easy Action. And they were pretty pricey at the time, but as a kid I was like, I need them because I don't know how to order online yet. And they were like 20 to 30 bucks around there. It was kind of expensive for some reason. So out of the two, I purchased this one, and guys, this one, even to this day, it's such a bizarre record, but yet it nailed everything I was looking for. I was looking for zaniness. I was looking for, kind of comical in sort of this theatrical way, but yet very out there, very outlandish. And to me, I think this is one of the greatest U.S. psych records, coming from Alice Cooper of all people. And it's got a cult following for sure. So I just kind of wanted to show this. This is like the major piece that really got me turned on, thinking, okay, this is a rabbit hole. This is something else. So Fields of Regret, man. I mean, that's a top track, and of course Reflected. And it's not like the sharpest record in the world. I mean, obviously it's got some production problems and a lot of sound collage moments, kind of quirky, but yet it's got this kind of Beatle-y, early Floyd kind of vibe when they were coming through the US. So I absolutely love this. This is a 5-star record for me for just those reasons alone, just being brought up on it. So where do I go from there? So I want to say, during high school I was getting into the Stooges, I was getting into punk rock a little bit. Man, I loved Funhouse. I played that record so much. And then when I was even working at the convenience store, that was my first job, it took 5 minutes to drive there. And I remember like literally almost every day for one semester I would play No Fun while driving to work because it was the exact time length, 5 minutes. So it's just a little story there for you. I loved, and I still love the Stooges a lot. Respect the hell out of them. Because I certainly had some teenage angst, a lot of like rebellious natures, but I wasn't like a bad kid or anything. I wasn't like no bully or anything. I just had a lot of those kind of inner feelings like, screw the man, screw society kind of thing. And punk rock kind of looks at things that way, but also not that, just, psych records too. This is very, just listening to these kind of records, they're very unconventional, non-traditional, they're rebellious. And it was just speaking to me at the time. I was just like, this is what I need. I need some originality. I need some mind expansion. And they did it for me. And this is one of the very first pieces I bought on eBay myself. And this is the first press, if you didn't catch it earlier. I was sharing the record. It's on the original straight label there. Pretty nice copy yet. So I've had this over 10 years now. And of course, at the time, I was getting to heavier stuff too. Heavy Psych, Blue Cheer, the first 2 records. To this day, still blow me away. Just love that sludgy feedback stuff. Just the noisy rock stuff from the time. And, certainly don't listen to these records like I used to, but it's like I know them from the back of my hand, front to back. They're just in my DNA somewhat. So I remember when I first moved out, because I moved out pretty early when I graduated high school. This would have been 2012. And I'll back up a little bit, but in 2012 I graduated and I moved out and had a pretty good sized collection. A lot of it was from that collection early on from middle school. But I started taking record collecting a little more seriously, thinking to myself, since I've bought this online, what else can I purchase? And so I think after that, once I got into college, I didn't buy nearly as much as I do now, but I remember Plastic Cloud, The Deviants, Batoof were a few of the first records I ever purchased. I was big into that kind of stuff, some of the big ones, some Zappa records and the early stuff, and yeah, it was a great time. And then, of course, like I said, I'm going to back up a little bit. So I started watching, or seeking out, I guess, rather, vinyl videos on YouTube, people showing off their collections, because I was like, I can't be alone in this category. So I want to say it was like around when I was still in high school, 2011, 2012. Off and on, I would look up videos like, I'd seek out Vinyl Records Lincoln or Vinyl Records Omaha. And of course, one of the very first channels I came across was Derek Higgins, who's kind of a veteran in the vinyl community. And I think he was doing a spotlight on Psych records, and one of the first ones was Silver Apples. And I'd never heard of them at that time. I was like, ooh, I gotta look into this. I think I checked out Oscillations and I was just sold right there. So some of the Psych collectors, didn't really pop up till I started making videos, really. Some of them, and but otherwise a lot of people were kind of into just all kind of different genres. I mean, I can name drop a few that I remember. And of course, being over 10 years ago, a lot of people have come and gone. People have been resurrected, have come back a little bit. So there's Derek, and then there's Sequoia Flame, Big Star 1000, Mr. Fartboy 79, Tony. really loved their videos. And I mean, at that time, you know, being in the moment, the thing I like about that the most, you know, the word that comes to mind is just purity. The videos were just so pure, so direct, raw, unfiltered, you know, barely edited. And I'm making an attempt at this video trying to make it not so choppy, because I'm pretty bad about that. I try to take out all the little hiccups that come about in these videos, but I guess that's not being too genuine, but it just kind of bugs me on a personal note, I guess. But yeah, I mean, compared to nowadays, everybody's making vinyl videos. But early on, it just kind of felt special, a little more niche. And over time, the charm kind of loses its value, its magic. And I get that. But I think a lot of ways it's kind of nice too, because we've come a long way. Easier to upload these videos, I would say. And I kind of like how we can, you know, backdrop some music in the background, do some editing styles. And I don't go too wild on the editing. I can, as you guys know in my trip videos. But that's about the extent of what I do, the video mixes. Otherwise, I just like to kind of stick to that same formula. I like to stick to that same straight, direct sort of style. And hopefully you guys have picked up on that, and I'm glad a lot of you have stuck around for 10 years or so. Well, it has been 10 years. And I'll definitely drop some clips in, probably in the intro and the outro, of just things over the years, funny moments, or, you know, just mostly funny moments, because there's a few of them. But yeah, my intro video, which boy, yeah, I was going to college at that time. That would have been the summer of going into my second year of college, and I graduated a little late because I didn't take my basics, but in a lot of ways I still miss that time, but it doesn't feel that long ago at the same time. I mean, I haven't gone through too many different phases of my life. I mean, I've moved maybe a couple different times. Well, 3 times, I guess, since then. But yeah, being at 30 years old now, and I made that video when I was 20. A lot of people think I was just a child then. I mean, I shot up pretty fast as a child, but yeah, I was 20 years old in that first video. And if you ever happen to go back in those old videos, you know, don't judge me too much. I'm just a baby. It's kind of cringy at some points, but like I was saying though, the vinyl community, air quotes, has certainly changed. You know, you got it's like a tree, right? You got this big, enormous tree, and there's just all these different branches to lean on and seek out. And so for that reason, you may notice I don't necessarily vibe with all the different cliques there are out there. And I don't really think the vinyl community is just a one singular thing, obviously. You know, it's not. So I keep pretty reserved. I keep to myself, and I watch the content that I want to, and I mean, I'm not ashamed of that at all. Ever since I made the introduction video, it seems like I've been on this bandwagon for, you know, a good portion, you know, consistently buying stuff as much as I can. Unfortunately, you know, had to resort to a lot of online shopping because I wasn't living in Lincoln at the time, and it took like 2 hours to get here, and I just didn't want to take the drive all the time, so it was always, and you know, of course, obviously finding psych records isn't too common. I mean, I'm finding some stuff out here, but it's not the most common as, say, you know, different cities around the world or around the US. But with that said, I mean, I don't know what else more to say except, you know, thank you for going along with me on this journey, and hopefully it's been a fun ride so far, you know. And if you haven't really commented, because I know I'm up to like, I think I'm approaching like 3,500 people watching me. I still get the same people commenting, so if you've been watching me for a long time, let me know. you know, leave a comment once in a while. Let me know that you're out there watching. So, and we'll see you in 10 years. I'm just kidding. Have like a big guru beard. But yeah, I felt like there was more to say, and I'm probably leaving some stuff out. I know it's going to be kind of a longer one, but I do have local vinyl finds coming up shortly. I've pretty much listened to them all now, but I've been pretty good. I've been on a good streak lately this month, so I haven't made any purchases except for one pre-order, and it wasn't all out of pocket, so whew, thank goodness for that. Because those pre-orders, man, they are hurting everybody's wallet. And that goes for any record shopping these days. I mean, it's really putting some weight on our wallets for sure. But yeah, so I'm doing pretty good halfway through the month already. With that said, thank you for joining me on this ride once again. I'm probably leaving something out, but I'm just gonna end it with different clips of me from the past. And thanks for tuning in.
You're gonna find like sounds of a goat dying, feedback, heartbeats, 2-minute silence, which is probably the best track off here. This one goes out to Vinyl Richie, who apparently likes to is infatuated with bananas, you know. Particularly mine for some reason. But anyways, the thing that really baffles me though about this one is the price tag says like Minty Thrifty, 79 cents. Now Minty Thrifty sounds like you know, kind of made up to me. Someone can help me out with that. Maybe Google Maps Minty Thrifty and see what they find. Probably plan to keep it sealed for a while. Maybe I'll flip it. We'll see what happens.
Peace and love from the Psychederic pad. I am PsycheDerek's grandfather, a long-distant relative of Timothy Leary. And tonight, I'm going to present to you Psychedelic Halloween album covers and tracks.
Bros, it's your boy PsycheDouche here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be discussing and giving an example on how to properly clean your vinyls. But before we proceed any further, make sure you give this video a dislike, hit the subscribe button, and hit the little bell to be notified with all the bullshit that goes on here.
Hey bros, it's your boy PsycheDerek's here. Welcome back to another YouTube video. I know, it's been a minute. But see, today I got some exciting news for y'all. I'm looking forward to all them certain titles that everybody's all looking for. You know, the Beatles, man. I can't even remember the last time I heard the Beatles, man. And the Monkees, the Doors, Jefferson Airplane, 13th Floor Escalators, you know, stuff like that.
They danced ecstatically, they orgied frantically. The demon had arisen from the circle on the floor. The chanting was much louder and more piercing than before.
Some Saturday when she gets away, we'll walk through other people's minds, read between their lines.
moving along. Had to cut the video off there.